What if the biggest threat to your portfolio isn't a sudden market crash, but a silent rot from within? This rot has a name: Altcoin Decay. It's the hidden process that causes most cryptocurrencies to slowly bleed their value away, often while you're not paying attention. And this isn't a theory, it's a statistical fact. Data shows over half of all tokens launched since 2021 have already decayed to zero or near enough to zero. In this video, I'm going to give you a framework to spot this decay, understand the brutal economics causing it, and most importantly, share a portfolio design strategy and rules for cutting your losers that can work to protect your portfolio for good. To help you put it all into action, I've even created a free spreadsheet and an AI prompt that I'll show you how to use later in the video. Hi, I'm Anna. I'm an ex-product manager turned full-time crypto investor and creator of the Sovereign Stash strategy. My goal is to give you the tools to build real, lasting wealth in this space. But this is not financial or investment advice. It's technically entertainment. Crypto has many risks. You could lose all the money you put in. So always do your own research and study risk management. Wrecked management is what I talk a lot about on this channel. If you're ready to stop the rot before it starts, do me a quick favor and hit the like button and subscribe for more content just like this. All right, to stop the decay, you first have to be able to see it. And most people are looking in the wrong place. This brings us to our first point. You need to use two critical tests to measure the health of any altcoin: the gold standard test and the narrative leader test. Most people are only tracking their altcoins against the US dollar. But the dollar isn't the benchmark that matters. Bitcoin has been gaining on the dollar for over 15 years. So the real question is, can your altcoin hold up against Bitcoin's strength? It's like checking your teeth in the mirror. They might look fine, but an X-ray could show decay. Bitcoin is that X-ray. You have to look at your altcoin's chart paired against Bitcoin. The way you do this is simple. Go to TradingView, go to the symbol search bar in TradingView, then type in the ticker of your altcoin and then type BTC. TradingView will show you the pair charts available from different exchanges. I like to start with a chart from the biggest exchange listed. Now, for some newer or more exotic altcoins, you might not find a pre-made Bitcoin pair chart on TradingView. No problem, you can create it yourself in seconds. Type in your altcoin's ticker, but put USDT, then the divide button or / button. Then type in BTC USDT. Don't worry about the list it will show, ignore it, just hit enter. And you'll notice TradingView will generate a custom ratio chart for you. Just select it to see it. Pretty cool, huh? This chart answers the ultimate question: am I better off holding the most proven store of value asset in the entire space, Bitcoin, or my altcoin? If your altcoin to Bitcoin chart is in a long-term downtrend, it means that despite all the volatility and risk you're taking, you would have made more money by simply holding Bitcoin. You are taking on massive risk for a lower reward if your chart looks something like these. It's a special kind of pain realizing you've worked hard and taken on all this risk just to underperform the one asset you could have bought and left alone. It's the financial equivalent of your dentist showing you that X-ray and saying, yep, we're going to have to drill. So that's the gold standard test. Compare your altcoin to Bitcoin. But for today's market, there's a second test you have to run: the narrative leader test. During different phases of the market, other leading cryptos become the epicenter of hype and development for a specific trend. At the time of filming, Ethereum has a really strong narrative lead. Many months back, it was Solana and Sui. For me, my altcoin must outperform this narrative leader too, or why else would I hold them? So, for example, if you're betting on a new Launchpad app or DEX on Solana, it has to outperform Sol. If you're betting on a new Layer 2 or lending platform on Ethereum, it has to outperform ETH. If it can't even beat the dominant player in its own backyard, it's losing the narrative war, and it is almost guaranteed to decay against the market. To run the narrative leader test, do exactly what you did for the BTC pair, but type in ETH or Sol or SUI or whatever other leading layer one smart contract platform is leading the narrative at the time that you want to compare your alt to. So, using both of these performance benchmarking tests, the gold standard and the narrative leader, transforms you into a much more astute crypto strategist. Passing or failing the Bitcoin test doesn't have to mean you never touch the altcoin. It's about matching your thesis to the time horizon. For example, if the long-term trend against Bitcoin is clearly down, that's telling you this coin is structurally weaker. But maybe right now, in the short to medium term, it's starting to show relative strength. Or maybe we're about to enter an alt season where everything tends to get a temporary boost. That's where you can make a choice. You can ride the short-term strength while your thesis is intact. But you go in knowing that long-term, the odds are still against it. The key is to define your exit conditions upfront. Don't confuse a seasonal rally with permanent health, because the moment that relative strength breaks, the decay resumes. At least that way you're not guessing. You're running a time-boxed thesis, not falling in love with a decaying coin. You can see for yourself and track if your asset is genuinely strong or if it's just a weak ship being temporarily lifted by a market-wide tide. So now you have the tools to measure decay, but why do so many alts fail both of these tests? The reason is a brutal 1-2 punch of economics. This brings us to our second main point, the hype and supply death spiral. Think of an altcoin's value as a leaky bucket. When a project is new and exciting, hype is like a fire hose of water being blasted into the bucket. The price soars and it feels like it can never go down. But for the vast majority of altcoins, there's a constant hole in the bottom of that bucket called token inflation. New tokens are constantly being printed to pay for staking rewards, team salaries, or marketing. This creates constant silent sell pressure. Now, I know some of you are thinking, but my favorite altcoin is deflationary. And you might be right. But a project isn't saved just because it has a fixed or shrinking supply. A token can still decay if demand collapses faster than the supply shrinks. It might plug one hole, but it doesn't make the bucket waterproof if nobody wants what's inside. So, as long as the hype fire hose is stronger than the leak from inflation or collapsing demand, the price goes up. But hype always fades. The narrative moves on. And when that fire hose of new money turns off, you're left with just the leak, a constant drain, with nothing to refill it. This is the classic death spiral. But today it's even worse. We now have a second, even bigger problem, a supply explosion. Thanks to one-click minting platforms, creating a new token is now as easy as creating a social media profile. This has flooded the market with tokens. So now you don't just have one leaky bucket, you have thousands of new leaky buckets appearing every single day, all desperately competing for the same few drops of attention and capital. It's a recipe for mass failure. This isn't about finding a needle in a haystack. It's about realizing the entire haystack is designed to burn. Your job is to not get caught in the fire. Breaking free from that FOMO cycle is the hardest part. If you want to build more strategic discipline in crypto, sign up to my free 5-day email course, Crypto Survival 101. The link's in the description. It'll help you build the foundation for everything we discuss. So, if the vast majority of the market is designed to fail, how do you build a portfolio that's designed to win? You architect it for this exact environment. This brings us to our final point, defending your portfolio with the core and explore strategy. This is an architecture for your entire crypto net worth, really. It's simple. Your portfolio is divided into two parts. Your core is your foundation. It's built on the assets that act as our benchmarks from earlier. For many investors, historically, this has meant a significant portion in Bitcoin, the gold standard, and potentially other top market layer one leaders in the smart contract platform category. The exact percentage depends on your own strategy and risk tolerance. I can't give you a specific number, but I can tell you my personal rule. I never have less than 50% of my total crypto portfolio in Bitcoin. Again, that's not a recommendation, it's just how I manage my own risk. If you're having trouble deciding on an allocation percentage, one objective method is to look at market dominance. On TradingView, you can type in BTC.D for Bitcoin dominance, ETH.D for Ethereum, and so on. Using these percentages as a rough guide for your core can be a logical, data-driven starting point. And by the way, some people stop right here. They build a core, and that's their whole portfolio architecture. That's a perfectly valid strategy, especially if your main goal is preservation and long-term sovereignty, not chasing every pump. Now, your explore bucket is the smaller remaining part of your portfolio. This is where you make your calculated bets, and it can contain a mix of assets. Think of it as having two layers. The first is for your growth bets, high-quality altcoins, and promising projects where you've analyzed the fundamentals, like real users, revenue, and utility, and you believe they can outperform the market leaders over a cycle. The second, much smaller layer is for your moonshots. These are the higher risk, earlier stage tokens, your lotto tickets. The key is this part must be small enough that a total loss would only be an annoyance, not a disaster. The mission for all explore assets is simple. Generate high returns that you can then rebalance back into your core. When an altcoin has a massive run, you take profits from the explore bucket and use them to strengthen your foundation in the core bucket. One warning though, beating Bitcoin has been brutally hard. Cycle after cycle, very few altcoins have actually outperformed it for the long haul. So, if you choose to add an explore bucket, go in with eyes open. Most alts will eventually decay back towards underperformance. So, what about the ones that don't have a massive run? How do you know when to cut an underperformer? This is the hardest and most important part of risk management. For any new asset you're considering, the rule is proactive. Set an invalidation point before you invest. Write down the one or two conditions that would prove your thesis wrong. If that condition is met, you sell. No negotiation. But what about the coins already in your portfolio? For those you need a different tool, I like a quarterly review. Put it in your calendar. Every 90 days, you will confront the cold, hard data. In that review, you ask a crucial question. Is this asset still earning its place in my portfolio? Now, this is a critical point. A 90-day period of underperformance is not an automatic sell signal. It's a trigger for deeper analysis. The real question you need to answer is, has the reason I own this asset changed? And the answer depends on whether it's a core holding or an explore bet. For your growth and moonshot bets in the explore bucket, the leash should be tight. They are in your portfolio, specifically to outperform. If they are consistently failing their performance tests while their peers are succeeding, it's a strong signal your thesis is wrong and it's time to consider cutting. But for a core holding, the bar for selling is much, much higher. Ethereum, for example, underperformed both Bitcoin and Solana for a very long period. A strategist who sold after just one bad quarter would have missed the bigger picture entirely. For your core assets, the quarterly review isn't just about the 90-day price action. It's about revalidating your long-term fundamental thesis. Is development still strong? Is institutional adoption still growing? Or consumer adoption, if that's its focus? Is it still a leader in its category? The quarterly review isn't a simple pass-fail test. It's a disciplined check-in to ensure your capital is still in the right place for the right reasons. Now, I know that's a bit of work to track depending how many crypto in your portfolio. So, to make this process easier for you, I've put together a simple tool. I've called it the Sovereign Stash Thesis Tracker. It's a spreadsheet that lets you document your thesis, define your invalidation points, and track your quarterly reviews, all in one place. And to help you fill it out, I've also included a simple AI prompt that will turn your basic ideas into a clear, structured thesis. You can use the prompt if you find writing up your thesis or your invalidation arguments difficult. You can grab both the tracker and the AI prompt for free. The link's in the description below. This entire Core and Explore framework is a key part of a skill called portfolio design. It's actually just one of the 12 essential skills that make up a mature crypto investor. If you want the full framework to help you self-assess what you're good at and what to work on next, I highly recommend watching this video. It will give you a skills roadmap for your learning journey as an investor. I've put the link in the description too. If you want to dig deeper into crypto investing and valuation, I've also linked some relevant resources in the description you might be interested in. So let's recap the key takeaways here. In a market where over half of all new tokens are designed to fail, you need a system. Stop measuring your portfolio in just dollars. Measure your altcoins against the gold standard of Bitcoin for long-term value and against narrative leaders of the cycle from the top smart contract platforms to see if they're winning the current game. Remember, the hype and supply death spiral is always pulling them down. That's why you build with Core and Explore. So the predictable decay of most alts only fuels and grows your solid foundation. You're not guessing anymore. You're operating with a system. And that's the real secret. This isn't about being the smartest person in the room or finding the next 100x. It's about having a plan that protects you from your own emotions and from the brutal realities of the market. It's how I'm defending my stash and building my sovereign foundation. If this video helped you, please do me a favor, hit the like and subscribe if you haven't already. And consider sharing this video with a friend who needs a wake-up call for their portfolio. Now, to continue building on this foundation, watch this video next. I'll see you there. Thanks for watching.